This looks like this will be the speaker.
I tested it earlier today and it was working, so.
That's live.
Okay,
That's right.
that might actually run to the speaker, which is now on the other side of the, and move that all over the way for the public hearing, or for the, yes.
It's working. Yeah, good. Okay. We'll call the meeting to order at 6:01 p.m. and start out with our land acknowledgement statement. The town of Coalhurst is located in traditional Blackfoot Confederacy territory. We honor the Blackfoot people and their traditional ways of knowing and caring for this land, as well as all Indigenous peoples who have helped shape and continue to strengthen our community. So we're going to move into the adoption of the agenda. And I do know that we have a couple of amendments or additions added today. And so we do have for 7.2 the cell tower consideration report. And then under 10.3, the letter from the Minister of Municipal Affairs. Is there any additional amendments or additions from anybody? If there's not, can I get a motion for the amended agenda?
I move to accept the agenda as amended.
Excellent, thank you. Any discussion? There's some question, all in favor? That's carried. And then we'll move on to the adoption of the previous minutes. Can I get somebody to make a motion for that? Go ahead.
I move that we adopt the previous minutes as presented.
Excellent, thank you. Any discussion? There's none, I'll call the question, all in favor? That's carried, great. And then we'll move now on to the business of, we have no delegations, move on to business of council. The first is the appointment to the Recreation and Culture Committee. And Councillor Caldwell, I see that, that this is coming from you, so I'll just turn it over to you.
You know what, I have to apologize and I have to ask you if you can give me a heads up on this one here.
Yeah.
For some reason, I'm struggling to get into my council agenda. It keeps popping into the bylaw agenda, so I'm going to look at that in a moment here. Thank you very much. So I will, make a motion that council appoint Ms. Lori Harrison as a member at large to the Recreation and Culture Committee, with her appointment commencing immediately and her term ending October 17th, 2023.
Good.
Okay, and did you want me to speak further in terms of strategic plan alignment, or?
If there's anything that you'd like to add to that, you can add that, or anything you'd like.
Certainly. So I guess just a little bit of rationale on that one. That the Rec and Culture Committee Council is tasked with, among other things, to be representative and responsive to the recreation, culture, and heritage needs of Coalhurst, and to build a sense of community. And Ms. Harrison would bring a very strong personal, professional knowledge and experience to that committee.
Great, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Is there any discussion? Go ahead.
I just have a question through the mayor to Councillor Caldwell. Typically, that when individuals want to sit on a committee, they send a letter, but there's no letter here. Has she indicated that she would like to sit on the Rec and Culture Board?
I believe that she did indicate, and I will forward that to our CIO.
Yeah, my apologies, that actually came in as an email request, which I actually sent back to the chair of Rec and Culture, and then it went through to Councillor Caldwell. So it actually came in not as a letter, but as an email. I can forward that to members of council if you would like.
I think the thing I was wondering is just that she had applied and wanted to be on it. It's not like they're being like, okay, you sit on this one now.
No, so, thank you for that question. And thank you for your patience. I've got our proper agenda in front of us now.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now we'll move on to 7.2, which is regarding the cell tower. And I'm going to just turn this over to our CAO. What did I do? Oh, I missed something. Sorry, guys. Move it back. Going ahead. Okay, going to 7.1. We're going to go to the debentures prepayment reallocation. And along with this, I'm assuming that this will, or someone from administration will speak to this a little bit. So I'll turn it over to you guys.
Just before I turn it over to the Director of Corporate Services, just as a point of clarification on this, there's no decision required. This is a request for decision from the CAO, but I'm requesting no decision. What I'd like members of council to do is ponder the information in the package and what you hear from the Director of Corporate Services, and come prepared for the April 11th budget meeting of council for further consideration of this. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Hanson.
Thank you. So as the note says, this has been, you have to forgive me, I got something for a few days in kind of my throat, so. It's been in the works for a few months now of we had these debentures that were in place. The approval was given to pay them, prepay some of them, and it freed up some funds. As we were looking through things, we recognized that while some of them would offset taxation, some of them were actually being funded by utility fees. And so there's kind of several ways that this can be handled. One is to, or there's various options of reallocate these funds. There's a list of, including here, a list of things that have been gone over, whether it's reducing utility revenues or taxation revenues, or contributing to reserves. A couple of items that have already been approved in the last several meetings of adjusting the council remuneration, and then the FCM conference. And then there's other areas that we discussed at Professional Development Council, or funding for the community development coordinator that's coming, strategic planning and other strategic priority items that would have some funding that go along with that. There's a list as long as there are ideas. We had administratively, we had a conversation. So sorry. Of how what could be some ideas presented, and we kind of settled on a splitting it into three. It's $117,000, actually divides evenly into three, of $39,000 each. One being to looking towards future infrastructure needs by reallocating some of these funds back into our reserve contributions. For example, the sewer and sanitary function within the town contributes annually $20,000 to the reserve each year. If there was something that needed to be done, or an underground project that needed some work done, those types of projects are quite expensive. And so this would allow to, because that debenture was paying off some of, or paying towards the sanitary functions, it would go back into that same function and provide future resiliency for being able to fund if we need to replace some lines or put in new ones. There's plenty in the ground currently that are, they're maybe not at end of life at this point, but they'll get there at some point, and they're quite a bit to replace. One of the other areas was to meet council's governance objectives. So generally speaking, given that some of the remuneration was adjusted, was approved, and FCM conference attendance, so that can go towards that. That makes up about $33,000. So if it was $39,000 allocated towards that, that leaves another $6,000 for contributing to other council professional development, whether it's courses or webinars or whatever it may be that council wants to use that and adjust the budget that way. And the other third, going towards training and professional development for staff, or providing resources for the new coordinator of community development for them to be able to do what they need to get done and to set them up for success going forward. And I mentioned in the note as well, as we bring on new hires, especially in the public works group, there's skills and trainings and professional development go along with those areas to ensure that they are meeting their license and certification requirements. And as new people come on, there needs to be training so that we can meet the level that we need them to be at. So happy to answer any questions you may have of what it's going to look like. Again, like the CAO said, no decision required now, but something to give thought and to look at and think about for the next few weeks before we start adjusting some of the make some spring adjustments to the budget.
Great, thank you. Is there any questions from council? If there's not,
Just process it pretty quick. I'll get lots of questions at the during the budget preparation.
Great. If there's not, then can we get a motion to accept this as information?
Great.
Thank you.
I move that council receive the debenture repayment reallocation update as information only, and further move that council considers these and or other options at the April and budget meeting of council.
Excellent. Any discussion?
Just, I guess, that these are really good options that administration has put forward to council, for council to consider, and look forward to debating them more at the April 11th meeting, so thank you.
Can I just clarify, Your Worship? Thank you for the statement. However, all of the options that are presented there have come from conversations either between council informally or here at the table. And as it states at the end of it, it's not a complete list. So if members of council have a different foci on something, then please bring those items forward at the April 11th meeting. We've kind of done the Kim Solomon +1 thing by dividing it by thirds. So it's even wiser. Yeah. Yeah, send your emails too in response to that. So it's just a proposal, and it's up to council how you wish to allocate. So I apologize for adding verbiage to your deliberations, but these what's on the list actually come from council leadership, which we appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. All right, so now we can move on to the cell tower component. So I'm just going to turn this right over to you, CAO Howard.
Thank you, Worship. Members of Council, we had this request actually come in on Friday afternoon, so I apologize for it not being on the agenda. I did send the information package, however, so thank you for adding this to the agenda. Long story short, Rogers Telecommunications is proposing the siting of a cell tower in the town of Coalhurst at 5300 First Street. Because the property is privately owned, Rogers entered into a lease agreement with the property owner. Council really has no role in this because we're dealing with the CRTC and we're dealing with some slightly different processes. That said, by our land use bylaw and the protocol that we've established, council does have the ability to either formally require or to just do nothing basically and it won't happen. A public open house that Rogers actually put on a public open house for the community. You have the two options under request for decision because you can either make the decision that Rogers have a public open house or that Rogers not have a public open house. Rogers will actually, if you have a public open house, will respond or will provide council with the results of the open house. They would like at the end of the process, regardless, at least a letter of support or a letter of resolution of concurrence issued by council. So that would eventually come at some point. Beyond that, really have not a great deal to add. It's just it's an issue of process, and we will respond accordingly. Perhaps I should ask or should comment as well that all the costs associated with public open house are borne by Rogers, with the exception of staff time. We would be responsible for putting together and mailing out the package because we do not provide addresses to outside interests. So we will do the mailing. We bill Rogers for all of the costs associated with that, but that does not include staff time to be doing that. Everything else, though, Rogers will be responsible for renting the community hall. They'd be responsible for their own advertising and everything else. So I say this is a process outside of what the town does, so they would be responsible.
Great, thank you. So with that, would anybody like to make a motion, or does anyone have any questions? Okay.
Sure. I'd like to make the first motion. So I move that council instruct the CAO to request Rogers Telecommunications to host a public house regarding the proposed cell tower installation at 5300 First Street in Coalhurst. And just to speak to that, I think it really talks about, community engagement, right? Because I think that this is an opportunity where people have questions and might be able to get some answers. I do realize that it'll take a little bit of staff time to do this. However, I do think that it's good to inform the residents. And if people don't show up, there is an opportunity at least for them to come and voice concerns or ask questions and find out more information about the process.
Great, thank you. Any discussion? I would say that I agree with what you're saying. I think that this is something where I think if we didn't do it, it wouldn't be great, right, for this thing to just kind of show up. And so I'd like to do the due diligence of allowing people to provide that feedback, and also would be really quite interested in even receiving that feedback from Rogers too. So, Rogers. Further discussion?
I guess I just to express some curiosity as to why Rogers would be looking at a cell tower in our community. That's just an interesting
If members
choice of a provider.
if members of council actually look at the information package which is attached, their rationale actually on the first page, Rogers seeks to maintain and improve high-quality, dependable network services to Canadians. In order to improve network performance, Rogers is seeking to add a proposed communications tower. Proposed site as a result of many considerations. It's been determined that there are no viable existing structures in the area that would be suitable for the operations of Rogers network. So it really is about just providing additional coverage for this region, for this particular service provider.
And so sorry, I read I've seen that. So this is cell phone service, and I'm trying to think who we have currently as sort of our really strong service providers. Okay,
Yes, I believe so.
that's what we're going.
Great. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you very much. All right, so we are now going to move down into our councillor reports. So we'll start with our verbal reports, and I'm going to start over with Councillor Ackerman.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for the opportunity here. I'd like to start with a few recognitions. Firstly, I'd like to thank all the residents in town that have responded to the online survey about the wetlands project or taken time out of their days to come down and visit with us last week. I think that it's really great that you can share your voice with us, so we're not just making assumptions, and we can create a town that works for everyone. In addition, I'd also like to recognize the Coalhurst Parks and Rec Society, along with a gentleman by the name of Eric Fast. They're putting together Coalhurst's first disc golf tournament on April 22nd. As a fan of disc golf, I'm quite excited for this, and then there's still spots available for registration if anyone's curious. As for meetings, my numbers were tracked. There was close to about 20 residents that came to provide feedback, and there's also been a ton of online responses, so I think that's absolutely fantastic. And it was great to meet some new faces and see some familiar faces within the community during that. Following that, we had the Diligent Agenda software training also on the 14th. And then yesterday we had a policy bylaw risk review committee. We briefly touched on professional development policy, family reimbursement policy, terms of reference, and then we had a discussion on a strategy to review and update policies. As for upcoming meetings and events, there is a lunch and learn in municipal energy management, which is put on from Southborough. That will be happening tomorrow. That's just online, so I'll be attending that. Then we have the committee of the whole on the 28th. I have the Southern Alberta Economic Summit on March 30th, which will likely be followed by the Southborough Executive Meeting. We're still trying to narrow down the date. And then in April, from the 12th to the 14th, there's the Economic Development Alberta Conference. And then for community events, I just want to mention that the disc golf tournament's on April 22nd, and then there's also the Spring Community Craft Fair at the Community Center on May 13th. Another thing that I would like to attend would be the EOEG Land Use and Development Approvals course. So that starts on April 5th and runs 4 consecutive Wednesdays, and that would be an online course. And then in my written report, I also have a link to the wetland survey, more information on the project from the town website, and then a link to the tournament registration if anyone was curious. And then I also included a couple links from the Southborough website because they have a really great grant toolkit. So if anyone's looking to write any sort of grants, there's some resources there. And then there's also community level economic development tools, which might be helpful for some of the businesses. So I just wanted to share that as well.
Excellent, thank you. And so, go ahead, did you?
Oh, I was just gonna make a motion to approve this registration.
Oh, awesome, okay, great. Thank you.
So I move to approve registration costs for Councillor Ackermans to attend the land use planning and development training, elected official education course. It's my next word. So the land use planning and development training put on by EOEP. Or is it put on by EOEP? Elected Officials Education Program.
Yeah.
Good? Yeah, good. Any discussion? No question, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. Then we'll move down to our council reports.
Thank you. So for recognition, I wanted to give a shout out to the Coalhurst Elementary School students and staff for putting on an excellent numeracy week last week, along with the student-led conferences and book fair. And then just wanted to thank everybody that came to the open house for their comments and discussion around the wetlands area. For meetings I attended the Community Futures Board training on March 10th and 11th. It was very in-depth training. We went through 4 modules, so community economic development, board development and performance, board leadership, and volunteer attraction, retention, and success. This was great training to take part in, not only to be a good member of Community Futures, but to be able to take this back to Coalhurst and apply it in real ways. Yeah. As well, we had the Wetlands Open House on March 14th, so that was a great turnout once again. And then as Councillor Ackerman mentioned, on March 20th, we had the Policy Bylaw Risk Review Committee. We're working on a few of those policies he had mentioned. As well, we're working on a strategy with the help of administration to review and update each council policy. And so by the end of this week, we hope to have a process to go through everything in a structured way to ensure that all policies get a chance to be updated and that things are passed through legislative ones to ensure accuracy and alignment. And then for upcoming, I have the Community Futures Board monthly board meeting tomorrow, and then we have Committee of the Whole next week. And I didn't get into April and May, and that's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Deputy Mayor Coaching.
Thank you very much. And I'd like to recognize, echoing the other councillors, recognize the committee members who participated in the wetlands open house, as well as town staff for all of our work when preparing that open house, and encourage anybody who's still looking to provide feedback to their surveys that will go online. I also want to recognize the RCP for keeping our community safe. Meetings and events I attended, similar to the rest of council, Wetlands Open House, so Committee of the Whole, we had the Agenda Setting Committee, and then I was able to meet with 2 of the community groups that were under my list. 2 I had, I guess, the First Responder Society and the Girl Guides. The First Responder Society, they were actually thought that I was coming there with direction for them, so it was a fun conversation, and I communicated to them that we're looking to work together with community groups and provide maybe a way to connect the dots, and so they were actually excited with that because they're looking for opportunities to volunteer with or projects they can help fundraise for. So if there's any other community groups that we're meeting with that are in need of resources, this group is actually looking for projects like that. So they've done things like Christmas hampers, in the past. They're looking at something bigger right now, and so they're excited to see the results of what's going to be in the wetlands. Like, well, I don't know, we're still haven't had the results of that yet. So they're excited for me to come back in about a month to talk about those results with them and see if there's anything that they want to take on. So as perhaps contributing towards. So that was really interesting to see the community come together on that. And then with the Girl Guides, it's noted on here, they want the mayor to come and talk to them about leadership.
Sure, I can do that. Whoever it is that they want to contact me and let me know what they want.
Sure, I'll give you a number.
Okay, thanks.
The Girl Guides are actually in the process of preparing some submissions for locating 3 geocaches around the town, so they're actually Girl Guides themselves right now, preparing that forward. And then they also mentioned that there are possible grants available. I think they're up to, it's not a huge amount of money, but $1,000 available to provide trees in the wetland or wherever they want, I guess, but because of wetland will contribute to their programming needs by giving them a space to go and, look at nature. It is applicable to their grant, so that's something that they might want to partner with us on in the future. And then, but ongoing needs of meeting with the Girl Guides, I'm not, I don't know if there's, a huge need. But we'll keep in touch with them, of course, I will. So, upcoming meetings, have the Horticulture Committee meeting tomorrow night. We have a special guest coming to attend from the town of Raymond, who's speaking on some ideas that they've done in their town for agriculture. So the chair set that up. And then Agenda City Committee and Committee of the Whole. And then in the future, kind of some bigger ones that I have, I'm going to the Operations and Sort of Building Grand Opening in 20th, and then the Community Planning Association. That's it.
Thank you. Councillor Caldwell.
Thank you. I guess I'm the same as everybody else when I'm recognizing the community members that have been engaged with our wetlands project and really supporting us to gain feedback on our green space, both at the open house and online. On March the 14th, I did attend the open house, and I agree with all council members that it was a really good turnout, and there was some great conversation and good ideas that were brought forward. I also attended the Diligent Agenda System training, and you'll see it might take me a moment longer than it would for other council members perhaps to work my way through this, and that's okay. That's okay. I'll play with it. That's been it over the past couple weeks. I do have upcoming tomorrow. I have both the Green Acres Foundation executive meeting as well as the Coalhurst Recreation and Culture committee in the evening as well. And I won't speak further on that. You spoke about our guest speaker that's coming. I think that that's the format that we're looking at projects that are very successful in other communities and see if we can have someone come and speak to us about, how they sort of got that project up and going and, what are the pitfalls, what are things to look out for, how to get it going. As well as early April, we have a FCSS is hosting an all council meeting within our region, and that'll be a wonderful opportunity for us to all network together on that. And that is my report, and I will get that into you, Colleen. Thank you. I'm sorry, it's still in my notes on my iPad. Still doing the old school way of doing it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. As for my report, a lot of it's already been covered, so I'm not going to go over it all. But I guess in terms of my upcoming meetings, I do have a couple of Schneegarch meetings coming up with the marketing committee. I think it's tomorrow, and then the Schneegarch Executive Committee is the following week with the board meeting the week after that. So just doing a little bit of work with them. And then in terms of my other updates, we will actually cover all of those in the correspondence component. So I will just leave that for now. All right. Okay, so if there's nothing else for that, we will now move on to our administrative reports. We do have the report from the Director of Operations. And so I guess with this, I will just open up to council for questions. And if there is none, if someone would like to make a motion.
Sorry, I did have a question on that. Of course. Did you want to move that first? And then...
Go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, thank you. Should I put it in a request form? The email that you forwarded us about CP Rail, it's only been in communication occurred from that. I see that Kevin was looking at some cost from CP Rail to install a pedestrian crossing on that. And so I hope to kind of maybe tie it in with some of what we're already paying then.
So just for clarification, what's addressed in the Director of Operations report relates to the members of council think about 2nd Street, just immediately south of the rink. There is no pedestrian crossing of the track on the spur line. And people unfortunately go from the nicely completed sidewalks onto the road in order to cross the track. And so if you're pushing a pram, to date myself, for my language, you have to go on the roadway. We reached out to CP to talk about putting a crossing in there, and Kevin is actually doing the legwork on that particular matter. I'm not sure to what the other matter is that you're relating to, or referring to.
You sent us an email earlier regarding some communication with them about, regarding some information about what we're already paying CP Rail.
Oh, yes, so we do actually pay monthly for maintenance and upkeep on the rail crossing out here at the signals actually on 51st.
Yeah.
We pay annually as well for a whistle cessation. I'm not completely certain as to for what we're paying, but that is part of the policy that they don't blow their whistle. We pay them for that privilege in our community, for that silence in our community. Whistles, however, will be blown if the safety of the crossing is at risk. And you will occasionally hear the whistle, and that's usually somebody is racing the train. It's an awareness. Unfortunately, people are racing the train, they're aware that the train is there, but it is a reminder that this is an active crossing and people need to be exercising good judgment and good observation and awareness skills as they're crossing the track.
Okay, thank you. I just wasn't sure if the two are connected in some way, that we were having some ongoing conversations with CP Rail regarding those items, and this came up as a conversation.
No, this is actually something tangential to it. It's an awareness of operations that people are having to go on the roadway in order to cross the track. Can we do something for pedestrian safety?
It's a great idea, thank you.
Was there a question, any further questions? Now, would you like to make a motion to accept it for information?
Make that motion.
Okay.
I'll move that council accept for information, Director of Operations report is submitted.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So now we'll move into correspondence. The first is the letter from Coalhurst High School. And so annually, we have supported, I believe it's the mayor's, there's been a couple of different ones. There's the Mayor's Community Award and some scholarships. I don't remember how much they've been in the past. I'm not sure if you or anyone from administration knows.
They're 100 each.
Are they
100
100?
vouching for the mayor's award.
And then 1,000, okay. So thank you. So we did receive this request this year, and so does anybody want to make a motion to do this again?
I'll make that motion. I move that council accept the letter for information from Coalhurst High School as submitted, and further move that council direct the CAO to process the pledge for the academic award ceremony. And just to speak on that.
Go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say, just to speak on that, I think last year, we really saw how much of an impact on an individual this award can have. And it was also great to get out with the community, see some of the rising stars in the community and recognize their efforts. I think it's a great thing. I think we should continue doing it.
Oh, thank you.
Just for clarification, how many awards would you like presented? You had 5 last year. I have no background or information as to how those were allocated. If it was by grade, 8, 9, 10, and 11 would be 4, but there are 5 awards plus the Mayor's Community Award. We can just, by instruction in the motion, we can just repeat what we did in 2022, or we can reallocate it to which.
I think keeping it the same would be
Okay.
all right.
Further discussion?
And so typically what they do then, was it not 7 through 12, did we not, because all the students within the middle school and high school, and so what the students do then is they submit a letter about what leadership means to them, those kinds of topics.
I think it was $100 for grade 7 through 11 and $9,000 for the grade 12 student for the mayor's award.
So we didn't do grade 7, we just did grade 8, 9, 10, and 11, it was $100, and 9,000 for the mayor's community award. But what I was gonna say is that I love that they're doing that again, and I'm looking forward to this. And it is my hope that actually that more students are aware of this scholarship and apply, so maybe we can see some more uptake on that. And then last year we talked about actually updating the letter requirements of the scholarships. It's probably too late for that, but maybe in the future that's something we can look at doing. And then as well, last year we kind of used an updated rubrics because there wasn't really a good system for kind of sorting them out to find a bid winner. So we did that, but I also really look forward to having representatives from council attending because I think it really speaks to our goals of increasing community engagement and council members' presence in the community. And so, yeah, this is a really great thing.
Sorry, if I might though, our CEO indicated there was 5 awards plus the mayor's award on top of that. Is that?
Yes, thank you, Councilor Caldwell. Reading the second paragraph of the letter, last year 5 town of Coalhurst scholarships and the mayor's community award. I'm wondering if the intent of that or the spirit of that is that 5 awards were given. 8, 9, 10, 11 plus the mayor's community award is what I'm just wondering if it's just the way that it's worded. That would be 5 awards.
You know, I probably was speaking to what I think might be.
The way that it's worded. That would be 5 awards.
You know, I probably was speaking to what I think might be a wonderful idea that we don't start until grade 8 when we have grade 7 students there. So perhaps I'm just speaking back to a memory of, well, we should be doing grade 7s as well.
So along with this, thank you for bringing up the rubric and all of that stuff. If you don't have it in your files, I can see if I have it for you, because I don't know if we provided that to the school last year so that they understood what they were actually writing about and what we would be looking at, because it is something, now that I'm thinking more about this, where we did actually go through and evaluate them and then select it as council. So
it's not something the CAO does?
well.
It's not something the CAO does? That wasn't a question, that was a statement?
It is not.
Yes, if you could provide the rubric, I'll pass it on to the school so they can circulate it to the students.
I'm not for that either way. Any further discussion on this item? If there is none, I will call question. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. So then moving on to the next letter we have here is the letter from FCSS. And so just want to note in here that on April 5th, as already been mentioned, we will be having the FCSS All Councils meeting. And so there will be dinner provided that evening, and it will be at the new Coaldale, what do they call that place?
Civic Square.
Civic Square, so we get a chance to check that out. And there you go. And we'll just invite you all to attend, and then just also to note too that they're requesting RSVPs by March 24th. So if you haven't had a chance to do that, to submit to that, please. Is there any discussion on this?
Would it be preferred if we RSVP on our own, or if we want just to be set as a whole council?
Is there anyone that will not be able to attend?
I'm not sure just yet.
You're not sure? I would say that if we're not all doing it as a whole, let's just do it individually, and then we can just let Linda know.
Yeah.
Would somebody like to make a motion to accept this information?
I'll make that motion.
Great, thank you.
I'll move that council accept for information the letter from Family Community Support Services as submitted.
Any further discussion?
So I just have a question. Sorry, I'm just reading this and seeing that there's a 2% increase per capita for the 2023 municipal requisition. So do we know what that's going to look like for Coalhurst?
I'm not sure. When do they do the requisitions? Is it usually, because like this is a long time ago. I'm surprised that this is just coming here now. I thought it had already come to us.
That's a great question, Your Worship and Councillor Florence, for which I will provide you the answer.
Excellent, thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure what that looks like, but I thought that it had come forward already, but I don't know.
We are starting to see requisitions from those agencies for whom we do requisitions. I'm not sure that this one has come through, but that would go to Mr. Passy, so. Actually, if you give me a moment, I might actually have an email on that.
It's been a few years since we've been to one of these, so it'd be nice to see everybody.
Yeah, because they haven't done one, well, I would assume since before COVID.
If one of you, either your worship or Council Florence, could put that in inquiry into a council inquiry form that's in the diligence system, that would be great, and then I can get back to you on that. The only communication I've had with FCS at the moment has just been on the number of souls that we use as the requisition amount, which is 2,784 population for the community. I've not received anything at the moment, but I can follow up. If you wouldn't mind putting that into an inquiry form, then we can track it, formally track.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Did you want to do that?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? If there's no other question, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. And then moving on to our last piece of correspondence here. So we do have 2 letters from the Minister of Municipal Affairs. So these did come through my email today. The first one is just notifying us that we have been approved for a grant of $200,000 under their inter-municipal collaboration component of the Alberta Community Partnerships Program for our regional infrastructure master plan project. And then the other one that came through too was also, this was sent to the Mayor of Picture Butte, and they have received $200,000 for the intermunicipal collaboration from the same program for the regional emergency management program that we're involved in along with Barron, Sculpford, the county, and Coaldale, I believe is everybody. So that's exciting news, and happy to see that. I don't know if anyone has any questions on that. I know that CEO Conference sent us some really good information about the work that will be happening within our community, and so I think it's really exciting to see this come through. Good information.
Caldwell, yes, Picture Butte actually will be administering the program. The reality is that Coaldale is going to be basically carrying the bulk of the work of this because part of the regionalization of our direct emergency management is going to be coming out of Coaldale. So their people are going to be the ones stewarding a lot of the work, but technically and for the purposes of administration of the province, it would be Keith at Picture Butte is doing that.
Fantastic. It's nice when you have 2 separate entities that are managing it. Other than Coaldale managing all the administrative pieces as well as the development of it. Right?
Council can judge the success of that when the report is submitted.
Councilor Florence, do you have a question?
And just a comment on the APP grant for the infrastructure. I think that's really awesome and exciting that we've gotten that, especially from our conversations with the county about the possibility of creating that shared commercial area. And so this is really something that needs to happen kind of before that so we can increase our capacity. So I think this is really, really exciting. As well, I want to say, sitting on the Emergency Advisory Committee, that the grant for this, it's really cool. Because, I said before, regionalization really is the future, but for us, with our emergency management, this is really going to be an answer to us to be able to effectively provide some of those emergency management services by utilizing, the region and some of these other resources without having to just build it up on our own. And this is an area where we're vulnerable, and so I think this is really great, and I'm really excited to see this as well, to see this great trailer that they're going to be able to pull around. This is this grant, right?
That's that grant.
Yes. Yeah, so I think this is awesome, and really moving in the right direction.
Oh, thank you. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept the letters for information?
I'll make that motion. Oh, sorry. I move that we accept for information the letters from the Minister of Municipal Affairs that's submitted. Maybe you shouldn't need that one, Jesse.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, question, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. So now we're going to move into closed session. So can I get a motion to move into closed session at 6:46?
I'd make that motion. I move that we move into closed session at 6:46 PM.
Any discussion? Call question, all in favor? That's carried.
Yeah. Everyone keeps saying that.
I know, and I was like.
Which one should you go?
All
Steal a motion, Jeff.
Still my emotions.
We're good.
right, go ahead, Deputy Mayor Coulter.
I move that, what are we moving? I move that council return to public session at 7:47 p.m.
Excellent. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. And then I think that we have our other motions. Okay, so you can do that.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
No, you're too far ahead, We gotta do this part first.
I move that council direct the closed session discussion with respect to the strategic plan and next steps, infrastructure matter, and HR matter, made confidential pursuant to section 24 of the Freedom of Protection of Privacy Act, section 16, and section 17 Freedom of Information Protection Privacy Act.
Excellent. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. Now, did you want to do the last one, please?
Okay. I move that we adjourn
There you go.
during the regular meeting of council at 7:48 p.m.
Excellent. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That's carried, thank you. See you guys all
I thought you wanted to
again.
discuss. Councillor Adams.